In this session, we have a very special guest speaker with us, Honorable uh, Troy Nobody Sir from Australia. He is a founder and director at Humanity Towards Sustainability, also a spiritual scientist, holistic healer, author. So today he is going to enlighten us on a very important topic, that is the self-realization grow by observation. So first of all, thank you so much, sir, for providing your valuable time. And I think we can proceed now. And if anyone has any query or question regarding it, you can ask in the comment section in the YouTube. So thank you so much, sir, once again for your valuable time. Now we can proceed.
Okay. Thank you, Samyak, and thank you to everyone that is listening to this. Self-realization. We talk about health, we talk mental health, we talk physical health. And in reality, our health is truly limited by us realizing who we are, how we function. There are two types of healers, two types of medicine and purpose of medicine. We have the approach where the healer will study so he can have a good life and he will have the big car and make a lot of money. And we have the healer who is so passionate about serving humanity, about helping their patients. They are dedicated to service. The healer can only guide you. We all have self-healing capabilities. The human species was designed with self-healing. So the healer should facilitate, should guide the patient. To guide the patient, we need to introduce the patient to themselves. That's where self-awareness and self-realization comes into. We need to study ourselves, observe who we are, how we function. To give you an idea between two states in which we function, one is in the ego function. That's our unskilled self. We're very limited in that ego function. All we can know in the ego function is events that already have taken place, that we have either seen on TV, read in a book, or somehow observed in our life from birth to the moment of now. The brain has a regulator. Each time we are about to undertake an action, our brain gives us 200 options to perform the action. We don't realize that. By the time we want to, for example, I got a drinking glass over here. To pick up that glass, I have 200 options. When I become conscious of the idea that I want to pick up the glass, the brain already regulates this down to 7 options. So I'm aware of it, 7 options, but because it's something I streamline, I don't even think, I pick up that glass. Every action we perform is regulated in that way. Now let's assume out of those 200 options that happen during your ego function, your unskilled self, 100 of those are going from mediocre to terrible, disaster. And 100 go from close to mediocre to brilliant out of the 200 options. It's not much brilliance to be had because that's all something we've already seen or experienced in the past. We are limited. That's the unskilled self that we function in. Now there is another version, our skilled self or our higher self. We hear that in spirituality, in Indian culture, in a lot of religions, we talk about the higher self. Now, the functionality in the higher self is where we see miracle healing happening. We see genius inventions occur. We see athletes perform way above anyone else. They're in the flow zone. They're all of a sudden, they're just no longer attached to their ego. They're just in that flow, in a zone which gives brilliance. How does that happen? The human brain is structured with 1 billion neurons per brain cell. So the unskilled self utilizes 200 out of 1 billion. 200 neuron connections. These are the options that we have to do anything. We select from 200 options. When you're in the flow zone, like an athlete or a yogi in the state of the higher self, you're not picking from 200, you're now picking from 1 billion potential options. Again, there's every disaster to brilliance. But now it's a brilliance that has no limitations based on your former life. This is the brilliance that people talk about, wisdom of the Akashic records, or source, or collective consciousness. Collective consciousness is the wisdom of every thought, word, action ever spoken or written from past till present. Many people say also the future. To consider that it's also what is in the future, we would have to talk about time. Time is an illusion. That's a separate subject at the moment. Let's leave it from past to present. Why can the human mind access such information, such knowledge, or learn from within? And this is where it's very important for our health, of what is possible for us to heal. We have ancestors. Every former life form that has ever lived is your ancestor, not just your grandfather, not just your aunt, not your immediate relatives. In your DNA, 3% of your gene pool is from your immediate family. 97% seems to be ignored. I mean, we say, if my father had heart conditions, I'm likely to have heart condition. You know what? Because how the human mind works, I now put that into I believe that is very possible. I create it. I'm co-creating my own future, my own disease. But why not consider the 97%? Why not go by the majority where everything is possible? I don't need to limit myself to possible negatives. I can choose what I want to limit myself to. So if I have 97% of my gene pool available based on everyone who's ever lived before, because we share DNA, this is scientifically proven, we share DNA today with the Buddha, with Jesus, with anyone that lives today and has lived in the past. If we were to dissect the DNA and trace it in a laboratory, we would find traces in each other of all these past life forms. So these are the basics that are important to understand between the unskilled self and the skilled self. There's this genius in us that we can't seem to access, and there's this unskilled self that runs around and breaks things and is depressed and anxious and just struggling like everybody else to live and get ahead. We dream of doing Kundalini and get the energy experience and get enlightened. There is actually a constructive path in which we can reach this. What we need to consider is building a bridge that allows us to walk from the unskilled self to the skilled self. That bridge is logic, understanding who we are and how we function. So as I've mentioned, these billion neurons per brain cell. Each of our brains is an alternative to the next person. Any opinion I form is an alternative to your opinion. You shouldn't agree. You should just see it as an alternative. It's not to be disagreed. It's not to be to agreed. It's just it is. It's an alternative to your thinking. It's an alternative that may be helpful. It's an alternative that may trigger something in you that is beneficial. Never allow a person's opinion or alternative to upset you. You give them too much power. The reason we are alternatives to each other, from the moment we are born to this moment in which you listen to this presentation, a lot of things have occurred in your life. Every minute thing that ever impacted on you forms a neuron connection in your brain. It maps your brain. No brain can be mapped alike. So because of this, we got to look at consciousness, at how do we consider why we have depression, why we exploit each other, what we can do to improve our lives, and how we can use this information to actually heal ourselves. The medical profession, be a guide. Don't give drugs. Don't be a drug dealer. We don't need to deal drugs. The human system does have everything to heal if we look after it and understand it. So, as you understand that we are an alternative to each other, to enter your brain and to start healing, there are three key components. Nutrition. In Western science, we will have a neurologist, we will have a dentist, we will have a heart surgeon. We have people dealing with spinal cord injuries. We have a lot of specialists. But the human body needs three things. Correct nutrition. If I buy a lawnmower, it's a cheap thing that sits in my garage, but it tells me I got to mix petrol and oil in a precise measure so I do not harm the engine, so I get performance. So that cheap little lawnmower that is sitting in my shed, everyone puts the right fill in. We understand the logic that it will not function if we put in raspberry juice. Yet our life, we take so cheaply. We eat processed foods. The ingredients in processed food that is allowed for human consumption today, they're dangerous. A lot of them actually are poisonous to us. Fluoride is added to drinking water in just about every Western country. Well, fluoride calcifies the brain. We have the biggest pandemic of dementia here in Australia. It's like, wow, as soon as you're of a certain age, everyone is starting to have dementia. That's becoming acceptable. Cancer. If we look at photos of our parents in the 60s and we look at people today on photos, look at the size, the difference in size of the people. Look at the medications that were available 200 years ago compared to what is today. So initially, medication works to a large degree like a placebo. There's a lot of tests where placebos outperform medication. Medication treat your symptom. They don't treat the cause of a disease. It's a band-aid, it's a mask. I'll give you an example with one of the most commonly prescribed medications today, antibiotics. Whenever you go to a doctor, they give you 5 minutes and give you antibiotics. There we go. Doctors are very well aware 2 doses of antibiotics within 1 year increase the chances of the patient becoming depressed by 50%. That's a massive rate. But it's all part of the plan of the pharmaceutical companies. So give antibiotics, boom. All of a sudden, we've got a lot of patients with depression. I go to the doctor, say, "Doctor, I'm feeling a bit blue, not feeling good." Doctor gives me something for depression. Great. Go home, I take my medication for depression. Yeah, when can I get off that medication? I feel good now, I'll try it. I'll get off the depressive. Doesn't take long. I feel really blue, I feel really depressed. Go back to the doctor and say, "Doctor, I'm struggling. I got off my medication, it worked for a bit, but I think I need it again. I think I'm not good." I get more medication. So what the medication actually does, it artificially creates dopamine. Artificially. My problem in the first place, why I have depression, is I'm not producing enough dopamine to be in harmony, to be balanced. So there's something that needs to be adjusted for me to produce dopamine. By getting artificial dopamine, my regulator in the brain says, I'm still on holidays. He doesn't need me. He's getting it artificially. I'm switched off. So the more we get in tablets, the more damaged this dopamine regulator becomes. The medication that we get for depression is actually making us very docile. The majority of people that go through that phase from the antibiotics to the antidepressants, within 5 years, they'll have type 2 diabetes. So all of a sudden, they're overweight. They're taking medication for type 2. Not long after, there's a very good chance that because of the size, because of the medication, the chemical treatment we are getting, what it does to our body, the impact of those chemicals, they're not natural to us. They have an impact. They have side effects. So now we've got a heart problem. And I have a bad run. Terrible. I'm really unlucky. Western medicine can help me. They'll put stents into me. And then I get put on blood thinners. Well, blood thinners also have a problem. And then they give me other tablets for my blood pressure because that changes when my blood thins. So we are running around, we're dollar bills to some of the medical industry. Go back to basics. Watch the nutrition. Think about that lawnmower. Don't eat the Western food that is processed. Don't do drugs, chemical drugs, alcohol that puts toxins in your brain. So much of the health food that is sold today is also processed. Be careful. Go to grown whole food that is in season. In religions, there is actually a saying where it is, God gave us in abundance. It's true. We just don't understand what it means anymore because to us, food now comes out of the microwave or from fast food places that it's not healthy food. So one of the things you got to do to be healthy and to have the right mineral balances and create harmony in the human system that you are, number one, look at your food intake. Start eating whole food that is seasonal in your area. Go to farmers markets, start growing your own food, eat what you know, reduce till you get off processed food. One of the things that this food will change within you when you start eating the proper food at the proper fill that we are meant to have, your system will start cleaning itself up. 20 years ago still, we used to every now and then have to take the poles off the car battery. So our car sometimes would turn over really slow when we try to start it. And it wasn't always because the battery was flat. It was because the connectors got corrosion on the poles. The connectors in our brain are exactly the same. They're dirty. They're full of muck. Dementia is a plaque caused by fluoride quite often, besides a lot of other toxins, but fluoride is a big one for that plaque that forms in the brain, the calcification. So these poles that are supposed to cause the neuron connections that make us functional, they're no longer good conductors. So we deteriorate, our regulators don't work. That's how disease starts. So food is a key to health, to your functionality, to make the regulators in your system have the energy sources to actually fire the way they are meant to be. Second part of it, of health, is exercise. Exercise doesn't mean we go to the gym and we work out. Doesn't mean we are gonna overexhaust ourselves. Everything has to happen in harmony. Food intake in harmony, exercise, yoga, tai chi, any form of balancing exercise, Pilates, things that open the energy flows in our body. You don't have to go to classes. You don't have to buy equipment. You can do it at home. No matter at what condition physically you are today, you can start balancing. You can start stretching. One of the things I do is, for example, when I brush my teeth in the morning, I'm standing on my tippy toes, leaning back, and I'm moving around while I go with my toothbrush. As I get into a position where I'm losing balance, I force my brain to actually activate the counterbalance as a reflex. So I'm switching on things in my body that have been dormant. We can get rid of arthritis with the balancing act and the food in combination of those two. I was supposed to have a back operation almost 20 years ago. I was told, you won't be driving a car for much longer. You have so many old injuries. Your body is a wreck. No doctor could help me till I got off everything of any medication. I don't take vitamins. I don't take any supplements, no matter whether they say they are natural or not. If it comes in a pill form, it's not natural to me. So I got back to basics and wow, my health came back. You all can have that. In the initial phases, depending on your health condition, your mental condition, your physical condition, fasting can actually help you speed up the cleaning of your neurons in your brain, the cleaning of your organs. Give it a chance to actually go through the cleaning process. So your intestines, if we eat 7 or 8 meals a day, they're constantly working. If we have fatty food, we have processed stuff, the body is saying, you know what, I can't keep up with this. I'm never getting a break. So it just works on the food you're just currently eating, but there's a backlog. There's toxins, there's rubbish. It only removes the top in the rubbish bin, the bottom, your organs, your system has given up. It just leaves it in there. But that rubbish, it actually causes worse and worse bacteria to form inside you, viruses, and affecting your health. It blocks you up. So fasting, I usually allow a period of 16 hours every day in which I don't eat. I only eat for 8 hours of the day, often a lot less. Works perfectly for me. There is research of how longer periods of fasting can have a massive beneficial impact on your health, depending on your condition. But for that, work with a health guide, a health practitioner, or somebody who can definitely advise you one-on-one based on your condition. If you are today on medication, you can't just stop from one moment to the next and go fasting. It would be too dangerous. We need to know what medication are you on. We'd work then on the symptom, tracing the cause, and make it that when you go to the doctor the next time, or depending on your condition, how much time it takes, the doctor will tell you, hey, you don't have the problem anymore. You can get off those medications as long as you work with an ethical doctor. But we can all get healthy again. There are two things. So this is now food. We already spoke about the exercise. The third, you got to have your mental faculties working. To get the mind that is so cluttered and overworked and overwhelmed with the technology, what's the better word, that we experience today, not enjoy, experience today, the technology overload, the mind, the human brain takes the most energy from your body. Yet we're running constant dialogue, inner dialogue. Everything we see, we feel like we have to interpret, we have to form an opinion. But our brain is not the healthiest. So our opinions have very little relevance to reality. Our opinions are formed by being manipulated with the overload of digital information that we get through our phones, through our computer, social networks. The brain needs a break. Like your digestive system, that you want to give 16 hours of non-eating so it actually can catch up with the clearing out your system and emptying that rubbish bin that your stomach is. Do the same with your brain. Train yourself to reduce the time of thinking. Train yourself to not put your opinion and interpretation to everything. And how do we do that? Silent meditation. Silent meditation is the greatest investment you can make in your health. You will start seeing the reason why the food, you will be motivated to eat the healthy food. You will get motivated to do the exercise. And in that combination, you will be motivated and remain motivated to silent meditation as you start finding the benefits. If you're not already meditating, to get in the right flow with silent meditation, maybe you have to start in sessions of 10 to 15 minutes. Twice a day, I would suggest, morning and night. As you progress and learn more about the meditation, increase the time. The longer you can sit, I try and sit at least 1 hour at night and 1 hour in the morning. I often do sessions during the day, but I might live a more unusual life than most of you. But meditation is so important to free up the brain space. Think of nothing. Empty the mind. Enjoy the silence. The hardest part in meditation is to actually get to that point of thinking of nothing. One of the things that worked really well for me, and you will find that as you start meditating, we keep changing. We have different needs to motivate us to not think, and you come up with those as you get better at it. We here all the time just focus on your breathing. When we breathe in, we're getting the gift of this planet. I'm actually breathing in DNA. I'm breathing in stuff that helps me build new cells, like the food builds me new cells. Breathing out, I get rid of toxins and carbon. But the trees live off that. So it's a process that they use for not thinking. And you're in harmony. You're breathing in what you're gifted from nature. You're breathing out what you gift to nature, because nature is happy with what for us is toxic. One of the things that works better for me is I came up with that theory of when you go into meditation, it reminds me of when you're a child. We played hide and seek. I'd run and hide in the wardrobe and put a coat over me, and I'm staying really silent so my sister couldn't find me. Well, in meditation, I listen to the sound of my next thought. Thought doesn't make a sound. So I'm staying really quiet to make sure that if there is a sound of my thought, I would hear it. You know what happens? In that anticipation, I stop thinking. I start actually to feel the functions of the brain. I can start feeling organs operate. We're taking so much notice all of a sudden of our system, how it functions and why it functions. We can take meditation to so many levels of learning as we dissolve the ego. And as you start becoming more efficient with meditation, you will get beyond those 200 neuron connections that you function on during the unskilled self. Meditation will help us to reach the skilled self. We're no longer attached just to that self. We are now attached to 53 trillion batteries inside the human body. That number is getting argued. Between 30 and 100 billion is the argument in science. I don't know why 53 trillion sits with me perfectly, but it does. You name your number, it's still a number that is massive. These are the cells that make us. So there's 53 billion cells. Troy believes he's this body. Yet each cell of me comes through the food I consume, through the drink, through the water I drink, through air I breathe. So as we already talked about food, the quality of our food is the quality that builds my cells. But these cells are negative charge and positive charge. They do hold an electric charge. As we meditate and start connecting to that which we really are, when the brain is silent enough and doesn't run the inner dialogue, we actually start connecting to our body again. That is something that yogis do. And they have a lot of power. You can have that power. You have the exact identical brain structure than a yogi. The difference is a yogi has worked on their brain structure. He's training his brain structure to be higher functioning. Meditation will take you there. You don't have to go to the extreme of the yogi, but go to the extreme of being a healthy human being. You will understand why conflict exists, which is a lot of the mental health issue. You understand conflict and to understand our place in the world. which is equal to everyone else's place when you understand how we function, when you realize that you truly are an equal alternative of every other person on this planet. The reason we can say that that is happening and the reason why you are suffering is part of evolution. So we are presently in the third state of evolution when it comes to consciousness. Consciousness, initially, the inception of it was called single consciousness. That was just living organisms. All they could do is observe, like a tree or a rock. All it can do is observe. It has an intelligence. It contains energy. Everything contains energy. Everything is made of energy. Don't think a rock is, or a cliff is dead. It's as alive as you are. Energy passes it. Energy changes as it passes it. It's interconnected with everything as are you. So observation was pure. For a long period of time, we went through that phase of just having observation, only possibility, no opinion. Then evolution allowed us to go to the next phase of consciousness, conceptual consciousness. Conceptual consciousness is where we form concepts after observation. So the concepts were pretty clever because we didn't put our opinion in it. We didn't interpret, therefore we couldn't get it wrong. So I'll give you an example of conceptual consciousness. During observation, we would see lightning catches a tree, the tree catches fire. Now the forest is burning down. So fire is dangerous. Animals died in the fire. All of a sudden, the rain comes. Water falls on the trees, falls on the flames. Flames become extinct. So the first concept we understood, there's a fire, let's hope the rain comes. Rain will extinguish fire. As it developed, we realized certain leaves hold water. Even after the rain, the water stays in those leaves. Can drink. I made a cup, I made a bucket. All of a sudden, great idea. With the bucket, I get water from the river. I put it next to my house. When there's a fire, I already have water. I don't have to wait for rain. So conceptual consciousness was a constructive form of evolution. Finally, we are where we are today. Self-consciousness. Wow. Self-consciousness has one big problem. It gave us all an opinion. When we are all alternatives to each other, we also have duality. Well, duality is now proven by science to definitely be the existence in our experience of living with the human brain. Duality is that everything exists because of its opposite. We only know that we have night because day exists. We have tall because short exists. Everything that exists because it has an opposite. So how does truth exist? How does truth fit into that? Truth has an opposite. We call it a lie. But who is to determine what is a lie when each of us is only an alternative to each other? We also have a limitation in our brain that only allows us to observe factual 91% of an event that we see in front of us. We're missing 9%. If you go and have 100 people listen to this presentation and write an article after on what happened in this presentation, and you ask them, don't put opinion in, only write facts. You cannot get one that is identical to the other. even though they all watched the same thing. So arguments that we have in our daily lives, Russia, Ukraine, America, the West, it's totally avoidable. The human brain has to move to collective consciousness. Collective consciousness is the next phase of consciousness. All the suffering we experience now through self-consciousness, where we fight each other, where we discriminate, where we discriminate by race, by wealth, by religion, by culture, by country, by political opinions, by job, by sports interest, by which sport team I follow. Everything we do, we compete. We exploit each other. Science exploits us. We invent something fantastic. Nuclear power could be clean. Hey, let's make a bomb and let's wipe out humanity. That's where we are. That is humanity today under self-consciousness, under this exploitation, under this greed that we have. For humanity to survive, to restore our planet and make that sustainable is not possible under the current system. The political and government system that we have globally functions based on economy. Economy is an illusion. There are people that want to become rich. So the population pays taxes, people get rich, people get contracts. It's a corrupt system that has not worked in the past, will not work in the future. Whilst we have incentives to exploit each other, like the monetary system, we will not fix the environment. We will keep finding reasons to produce products that are better for landfill than anything else. We will keep exploiting each other. Collective consciousness is when we start realizing all this, when we say, you know what, we have done enough damage. We need to work with each other, shoulder to shoulder, listen to our concerns and address them in union as the collective, work for the benefit of our species, not against it. We are truly all interconnected with nature, with everything. We are no greater than the flower that grows out there. We have same DNA. We are made of the same elements. We find ourselves as managing the world. We're crazy. We're diluted. We are ready to learn if we want to survive. And to learn, we got to find each other. We got to find what's in ourselves, connect ourselves to the functionality we are, so that we can actually connect to the planet, to Mother Earth, and work as one to create harmony. Harmony, like in the Tao, is the most important thing for us to flow in a happy life form. If we feel stress, that is the language of the universe. Stress is an energy that shows us, hey, you shouldn't be going there. This is not right. You're swimming against the stream. Find your perfect flow. You won't feel stress. You're in the place where you're meant to be. Thank you for listening. It's been an honor to present here. I see it's 44 minutes, nearly 45 minutes up that I was given the time to speak. I am happy to answer any questions you may have under, even if you come and see this video in the future. If you write questions under, I'll check in from time to time. You can check out my website, Humanity Towards Sustainability. There's great articles on that may help you. There's a free ebook on how you actually can help yourself to connect to that higher self. In a 45-minute presentation, there's so much I can fit in, a lot of which can be overwhelming and confusing. So take the book. Thank you, Samyak.
Thank you so much, sir. You have covered almost all the aspects of spiritual life or divine life, from the food, from the mental health to a yogic lifestyle. You also not emphasize on the problems, of also provide a solution or a way for the solution in a very nice way. Uh, a question from my side is, before moving towards your work on the website, uh, as we are going for this conference, you also mentioned, but nowadays what we see that mental health professionals, especially while treatment or while dealing with the clients, they use so many different therapies or way of the treatment. So, in your opinion, what is your advice to modern days mental health professionals? What they should keep in their mind about the consciousness, about the mind, or the true nature of the self? So, what is your advice to mental health professionals?
Get away from chemical substances. Find in nature how to help your patient, because nature does have the answers. We look at a plant, and for example, I can look at a 800-year-old tree just right out my window. If I look out to this forest, I can look at trees that are 800 years old. Yet this tree grew from a little seed. And if I was to say time is an illusion, which time is, but there's a different way of expressing at a different time. But considering time is different on a different schedule than on the human schedule, how can that seed become such a massive tree? It's a miracle. It's not. But the same miracle exists for us. Nature is the most perfect design, as is the human body, as long as we are in harmony with nature. When we take man-made chemical substances, we are starting to move out of that harmony. We will have side effects. We need to look for natural ways of caring for our health. So Western medicine has made some amazing breakthroughs with regard to life-saving surgery. I have had the luxury of having a friend who traveled with a team of Hindu healers. They were like miracle healers. I have personally been part of some, what I would call miracles in regards to healing. And the explanation I was given later on by this Hindu healer, she's saying to me, she said, "Troy, you got to be a teacher, not a healer." And I said, "But why? I serve humanity. I never charged anybody for what I do because I think that is wrong. So it's a dedication. I serve humanity." And she says, "No." She said, "Our team of healers was flown around the world. They used to enter hospitals where in intensive care, the patient was told, or the people say goodbye. They brought people almost back to life, you can say. But they interfered with karma. They said, each time you have a health issue, whether it's about to kill you or a car accident, it's an opportunity for the patient to become enlightened. The patient gets the opportunity to find out in that time what the healer already knows, the miracle healer. So the miracle healer has a knowledge. It's not a miracle healer, but that's what they're referred to. Has a knowledge of how to access a patient's body. The way we access it has nothing to do with our knowledge. We simply go into the brain of the patient and allow it without the limit of the ego, because if we access it, the ego no longer plays a role in it. You just take it to the sensation in the body where there is pain. And the brain of the patient, when it's not in that limit of the 200, it will find the solution to heal the patient. So what the Hindu lady said is, instead of the healer taking the patient there, each health issue is a lesson from the universe. It's meant to give the patient the chance to heal themselves, to be confronted with that. Now, I wasn't so sure that she was right, but then she gave me the record of what happened to the team of healers. And they took on the karma of the people they saved. There ended up being their children in wheelchairs, deaths from horrible circumstances. Looking at the record opened my eyes. So facilitating healing and teaching a person how to self-heal, everything is possible. It really is. So the medical profession, go beyond that limiter, meditate. If you're a dedicated doctor or healer, you have so much knowledge, guide your patient to use nature to heal. You're doing it as a coach to your patient, but don't heal on his behalf. The patient, his body has to heal. He's doing the healing. Only our body can heal us. The health profession facilitates that healing, encourage the healing, guide the patient what to do to heal. We can heal everything. That is the design.
Thank you so much, sir. You mentioned a very important thing that human body or our body is a true healer. We just guide it, we just provide it a uh, way to be healed by its own. So our very close doctor, or we can say our healer, is our own body. We have to just understand it. We have to just believe it that human body is having the tendencies to heal itself. So thank you so much for providing this view to the all the professionals, that we have to keep in our mind that human body is in itself is a healer. It innate by the god, or we have all the tendencies to heal ourselves, but we have to provide relaxation to the body, as you mentioned in your lecture, that importance of fasting, importance of food, how the toxins remains in our body, and how we have to remove these toxins from our body. So it is very much now clear. Another very related question, I can say, when we talk about consciousness, when we talk about psychology or spirituality, there comes a term named as self. So, in your opinion, what is true self? How one can achieve it? What are the process to understanding and experiencing our true self?
The true self we will find through meditation. We do have to strip away the opinions we have formed because of the news we are confronted, because of anything there is. So the true self, really, I find, learn to be understanding, first of all, the basis, the platform, to have the confidence to find yourself, that we are all equal. In our world today, it doesn't seem that way, but the way we are designed, we are an equal alternative to any other person. That is from the structure of our brain. Accept that and allow yourself to be your organic, your true self. Do what's passionate in your heart. Don't ever try and be the stereotype. Today, the image is every man has to be a bodybuilder, every female is starting to have implants, and that's the image they're trying to give us. And our children are under that pressure to try and live up to something that is not the reality. We're all beautifully unique, and to find your true self, to never try to be anybody else, get really excited and passionate about finding out who you are, doing what you want to do, and scream to the world, I'm happy to be me. I'm happy to be unique. That's what you got to do to be the true self.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, we should move towards your work, your website. You mentioned a little, so I am requesting to kindly brief more about.
On the website Humanity Towards Sustainability, you see that there's 3 lines that Semek is just showing, and on the 3rd line on the right hand corner there's a label saying free ebook. If you click on that label, you will find a free digital book that I think will help you massively to understand how to start learning from within, how to start educating yourself by meditation. It's an amazing journey. We don't only learn from books, we really can learn from what yogis have shown us is that it is possible. It's not a miracle. We all can learn it. It's like you're watching a tennis player and you say, wow, this is great. Nothing stops you from also being a tennis player. Whether you want to be a great player or just play tennis for fun, that is up to you. And that is what we can do with our brain. You can become a yogi and totally be passionate and do the most you can, or just do it to be a healthy person living in harmony. But this book will help you.
Thank you so much, sir, once again. Before winding up today's amazing, intuitive, and insightful session, what will be your message to whole the humanity through this conference or through this session? So, what will be your conclude message by this session towards or to whole humanity?
Help us get to collective consciousness before we ruin our planet. Our planet needs us to be far more considerate. By the time we reach collective consciousness, we have the brain and the mind and the love in our heart to actually restore Mother Earth, and it will become sustainable. We still can organically do that. Our governments are not giving us any such options. They're talking about carbon pricing. Carbon pricing is the biggest nonsense. There's nothing to do with the environment. All it is the rich companies are paying for their pollution and they're passing the price on to us, and the pollution continues. What nonsense. You have a beautiful, great ambassador in India, Sadhguru, who plants trees, who brings up beautiful initiatives to actually change the planet and touch people's hearts and let them know what we are capable of, and follow people like that and live life in harmony with our planet. It's time we change the political system. It's time humanity grows up and stops exploiting each other. We can't continue this way. Whether we are health professionals, bankers, politicians, we must share this planet. We want to share a healthy planet. If you want to own all the wealth in the world, what's the point if we all die miserably from this planet? If we ruin it, let's work as one. Together we are strong. Together we can survive. Be in unison.